The major concern with Sandy in the southern tier is wind. Even if it does rain, divers will be able to continue their search. The federal jury decided that Trinity had defrauded the Federal Highway Administration by keeping changes it made to its product in 2005 a secret for 7 years. While police are working hard to piece together what led up to the shooting death of 22-year-old Jermaine Darnell Clark, neighbors say time is standing still after the shocking loss of such a vibrant life. Police in Louisiana say victims don't have to test positive for HIV to press charges against Brooks. However, the laws in New York State aren't so cut and dry. As of right now, 36 buyers from Africa are pre-registered, but they don't want people to panic. They say out of those 36, none are from West African countries affected by the Ebola outbreak. All right, I'm new to the South. I have no idea how to cook barbecue. Show me something.
First, I want you to flip it.
Okay.
All right.
Which I've practiced.
Right, there you go.
There we go.
Watch the heat and you slap a little sauce on it.
Slap a little sauce on it.
You're mopping
okay.
it on. What you doing?
Mopping it on.
You're mopping it on.
Okay. Ooh, it is like a mop. Now, once these walls are torn down, reconstruction is set to begin next year. Cray says they'll also be tackling damages caused by Tropical Storm Lee. Troopers say they believe the driver was exceeding the recommended speed limit for this curve. They say he then tried to stop, hit the guardrail, and overturned. 7 of the 14 individuals taken into custody were arraigned here in Binghamton around 1 p.m. Wednesday. Now, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, they're all members of the Blood Street gang known as the McBallers. What's the most important thing that you think people should keep in mind when they see you guys out there?
Just keeping a safe distance away.
To share those with the kids too, because then when they look back,
Right.
they can just remember her as happy, as the mom that pushed them to go to school.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
No word yet on the condition of the survivors or who they are. State police have not yet released the details of how 15-year-old Smith got behind the wheel of the Ford Focus. They say the investigation is ongoing. In Oxford, Elyse Mickalonis, YNN.
Well, several questions remain following the death of a Johnson City police officer. Officer David Smith shot and killed this morning shortly after the start of his shift. Our Elyse Mickalonis joining us now from the scene with more on what police believe happened early this morning. Elyse, what did they say?
Good evening, Solomon. Well, it's been a very difficult day for this community as the Johnson City Police Department loses one of their own. Police say they don't know yet what led up to 43-year-old James Clark shooting and killing 43-year-old officer David Smith, but they say the loss is tremendous. What started as a normal workday for 2 men turned into a tragedy.
We have no idea why Clark did what he did. It's our understanding. Things were normal at his residence yesterday. Spoke with family members this morning before he left for work. Everything appeared to be normal.
Things took a turn for the worst around 7 a.m. That's when police say 43-year-old James Clark arrived at Southern Tier Imaging, where he worked as an MRI tech and was trying to stop people from entering the building. A disturbance call came in around 7:03 a.m. and another shortly after.
And the suspect, as I said when he arrived at work, was obviously appeared to be in an unstable mental condition. As other employees were entering the building, he was trying to keep them out, saying there's a bomb here.
As a result, the Endicott bomb squad was called, but no explosives had been found. A witness we spoke with off camera says she parked her car along Harrison Street when, quote, all hell broke loose. Sikorsky says a call came in around 7:06 a.m. of shots fired. He says that's when 43-year-old Johnson City police officer Dave Smith arrived on scene. When he did so, Clark attacked him from behind as he was getting out of the cruiser and fought for Smith's weapon.
As the struggle continued, Officer Smith was able to get out of the car, but the bad guy gained control of the gun and he shot Officer Smith, putting him down to the ground.
Sikorsky says Clark turned and fired on the second responding officer who came to Smith's aid. That officer then shot Clark. Clark died at UHS Wilson at 10:22 a.m. Hospital employees and officers tried for an hour to keep Smith alive. Sikorsky says all 15 rounds in Smith's weapon had been shot.
Where do we go from here? We bury a cop.
Now, earlier today, authorities got search warrants for both Clark's car that was parked on Hudson Street as well as his home in Green. They do plan on searching through his computer to see if they can get any leads as to a possible motive. Autopsies are being performed and toxicology results should take a couple weeks to come in. Now, Chief Zukuski says they do plan on holding another press conference once funeral arrangements are made. They said the police department is offering any possible support they can to Smith's family. Here in Johnson City, Elyse Mickalonis, Time Warner Cable News. Back to you, Solomon.
The Aggie community is mourning the loss of one of its own. Greensboro police found 22-year-old Jermaine Clark shot on Stedman Street about 11 o'clock last night. He was a football player at NC State University. Elyse Mickalonis joins us now from the scene of the shooting with the very latest. Elyse.
Marty, while police are working hard to piece together what led up to the shooting death of 22-year-old Jermaine Darnell Clark, neighbors say time is standing still after the shocking loss of such a vibrant life. 22-year-old Jermaine Darnell Clark had a promising life ahead of him. He was a sophomore studying psychology at NC and was a linebacker for the football team.
He was a good person. He always spoke. I mean, he's our neighbor. He always spoke, come tell us about his football practice. He was just like a ladies' man, like a cool guy.
But Tuesday night, that life was cut short when shots rang out along the 400 block of Stedman Street.
We all kind of just like ran out here at the same time to, see what was going on. And then we called 911 and, they was like, they had got a few calls and all that. And, we just stayed on the phone and basically stayed over there with him until they made us, back up.
Virginia College senior Sasha Alexandre and others waited until paramedics came to take Clark to the hospital.
I mean, everybody was just like, no, you're going to be okay. They're on the way.
Just trying to make sure he felt comfortable and safe.
Yeah.
Clark was taken to Moses Cone Hospital and was pronounced dead. Police say they're dedicated to this investigation and won't stop until they find whoever is responsible.
This won't cure the pain, but hopefully in time we can bring that person or persons to justice.
Now, Wednesday morning, police and crime scene investigators were using metal detectors to look for evidence, and they were also speaking with neighbors along this street. They are urging anyone with more information to come forward as the investigation is ongoing. For now in Greensboro, Elyse Mickalonis, Time Warner Cable News. 34 years of marriage taught Samir Al-Salahi a lot about his wife, 53-year-old Layla Khalil.
She is a very strong personality, that is. Because women in our culture is not like the man, here, there. There is no equality, between the two.
But in spite of that, Khalil pushed to prove that women are equal. She survived kidnappings and breast cancer. The two came to America in 2008 to escape the violence in both Baghdad and Jordan. Al-Salahi had been shot in the ear, and one of their sons was shot in the arm.
But we survived the one of the tragedy, but, we survived. With 13 bullets, we got attacked that 2004 in June.
A trait that would be tested after the unthinkable happened on April 3rd, 2009.
This is life. Life doesn't always smile.
On that day, Al-Salahi asked his wife to stay home, but being the independent woman she was, she got on a bus and went to the American Civic Association, where she was attending classes to better her English.
She is very ambitious to improve her influence and to be in a very high standard of language to be accepted by the society.
But soon everything came to a halt when a man named Jiverly Wong entered the ACA building.
There was a 911 call to the Emergency Services Center, a woman saying she'd been shot. There was a man with a handgun firing several more shots, and there was hostages. Once we got there, it was determined that a suspect had put a car against the back door, blocking any possible exit by possible victims. There's 14 confirmed dead in the building.
5 years, very long and very short. It is very long when you remember it, sometimes it's very not easy. to remember this.
Their youngest son graduated high school just weeks after Khalil passed. 5 years later, a memorial park stands on Front Street just down the road where so many lives were lost. Al-Salahi says the memorial offers hope to his family and others. He says he's lucky to have had 34 years with his wife. It's good to keep the memories, the happy memories.
Right.
You know, and it's good to share those with the kids too, because then when they look back, they can just remember her as happy, as the mom that pushed them to go to school.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
With the Broome Developmental Center set to close, there are some questions about what will happen to the clients it serves. Some could end up moving into neighborhoods around the area, and some residents have concerns about the backgrounds of those individuals.
We already had a complaint from one of the subjects that lived there. He's usually called a client rather than a patient. Moved into a neighborhood, and the neighbors found out he had been involved evidently in some sex crimes earlier in his years. And now he's living in a neighborhood and he's not even registered as a sex offender.
Earlier this month, the Shenango Valley School District sent a letter home addressing that issue after parents raised concern.
Unfortunately, we live in a world, where there's stresses and pressures and defected moral compasses, so it's important to always make sure we are protecting ourselves.
But Broome County Sheriff David Harder says their hands are tied. Legally, they cannot do anything about the situation.
There's not much we can do about it because they're not on the sex offender registry, so there's no reason for us to go back and check on them because legally we don't have any right to do that.
In response to those concerns, the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities issued a statement to Time Warner Cable News saying, quote, there are currently 36,761 registered sex offenders living in New York State. Only a very small fraction of those individuals served by OPWDD currently have a Sex Offender Registration Act designation. The OPWDD says registrants served by their offices are in fact required to register any change of address. And that includes when they're moving from a campus to a community. But lawmakers say there appears to be a loophole.
When you're found incompetent to stand trial, the criminal justice system stops. And there appears to be some kind of loophole where they are not then put on the registry. So we're going to be looking into that.
What I'd like to do is use the unit that we have at Broome and keep it open because we have the barbed wire there, we have all the facilities there, and to let individuals out in the community that are dangerous is absolutely wrong.
The OPWDD says, quote, prior to leaving a campus setting, individuals undergo a rigorous assessment process and plans are developed to address identified needs, including the need for supervision. OPWDD will take action to request involuntary retention of any individual who is determined to be a present danger to self or others should an individual request discharge from a campus-based institution. In Broome County, Elyse Mickalonis, Time Warner Cable News.